My name is Sebastian Junger. I'm an author and a journalist. I've covered wars all over the world. I just wrote a book called War about a platoon of combat infantry in eastern Afghanistan. I spent off and on a year with them. I also made a movie called Restrepo using footage that I and my partner shot out there. What I saw in the Korengal was really exceptional. A fifth of all the combat in Afghanistan was taking place in those 6 miles of the Korengal valleys. The guys were not particularly scared during combat, neither was I. Like, the real fear came beforehand. Like, there was dread. Dread was way worse than the fear in combat. There was almost no fear in combat. Like, it's like when you're badly hurt, you don't feel pain. You feel a lot more pain when you stub your toe. Sort of the same thing. Like, in real combat, you're not really reacting emotionally at all. During the deployment, Captain Curdy says, after 9 guys get killed and 26 wounded at the Battle of Wanat, he says to his men, I want you to mourn and I want you to get over it and do your jobs. He said that because there really is not room for an emotional response in combat. It reduces your ability to fight, to function. And that in turn increases the chance you'll get killed. So, and then later, the final response by Sergeant ER, actually, he said, I don't want to forget these terrible things because it makes me appreciate everything that I have. That's him processing his emotions later. He can afford to do that processing because he's no longer in combat. He's trying to figure it out later. So it's very hard for a 22-year-old who has such a solid sense of himself in that environment to come back to civilian life where he's not necessary to anyone, he doesn't know who he is, and he's walking down the street and he's at the bottom of the food chain. Like, girls his age are all dating older guys. He can't get a good job. Like, he doesn't know why he's there. Like, all those big questions about your existence, none of them are answered back home until you're a little bit older. And so these guys, the biggest obstacle they face, I think, is actually giving up the sense of purpose that was demanded of them when they were in combat. And they can't reproduce that back home, and it's incredibly painful and confusing. I think probably what they're saying about you don't understand is all the combat soldiers, they all saw their best friend get killed in front of them. And so, you know, if you knew someone whose best friend was hit by a car in front of him and he bled to death, like in front of someone, and you ask that guy what that experience was like, watching his friend get hit by a car, and he's probably going to say, he's going to describe it for a little bit, and he's going to say, you don't understand, you can't understand what that was like. That's soldiers. A good soldier is one who follows his training very closely, but has enough independence of thought to react to complex situations that aren't covered by his training, that's able to coordinate his actions with everyone else, and that is not afraid of getting shot. A bad soldier is one who lets his fear overcome him, shuts down psychologically and can't take in information from the guys around him or from the situation, forgets his training, and essentially slips into a kind of individual survival mode at the expense of the safety of the group. 2nd Platoon Battle Company of the 173rd Airborne is about as good as it gets in the U.S. military or any military. They really were like the very top, and they were the best platoon in the company. The company was probably the best company in the whole brigade, and I was very, very lucky to be with them.